I'm Wayne Martin, Safety Officer at Baylor Scott White Institute for Rehabilitation. On November 8, 2018, our hospital conducted an active shooter drill as part of our community-wide CATRAC obligations. In this scenario, the shooter is a recently terminated senior staff member who came back to the hospital with a vendetta to kill the Human Resource Director and the CEO, as well as anyone that he could get a clear shot at. As in most similar events, the terminated employee enters the building from the main entrance and heads directly for the receptionist. The assailant severely wounds the employee and moves towards his main objective, administration. While attacking the administrative assistant, the HR director hears the screams and the shooting outside her office and immediately closes and barricades her office door with her body. This procedure is highly recommended by law enforcement because the employee is on the floor and less likely to be hit by a stray bullet fired through the door. Though wounded, the receptionist manages to press a hidden panic button that instantly notifies the police department that something is seriously wrong at the hospital. He then manages to warn everyone over the paging system that an active shooter is in the hospital. Nursing staff hear both shots and the page and immediately leave the building. Some choose to hide behind locked doors. Dietary staff also hear the warning and immediately evacuate the building. Unlike the HR director, the CEO was on a conference call and did not clearly hear the shots and was an easy target for our shooter. He moves on to his next target, which is a staff member who heard the shots and locked her door. He tricks her into opening her door by claiming to be someone looking for a safe place. In this situation, compassion can get you killed. Active shooters normally move fast through a building and attempt to open most doors they come to. A locked door takes too much time to worry about. They know the clock is ticking and it's just a matter of time before the police arrive. Our shooter heads for the nursing area, where all the staff has locked themselves behind closed doors or has evacuated the building. Two of them see the terminated employee enter their area, but are not aware he is the shooter. Since the general staff are not normally informed that someone was fired the day before, they might assume he is still one of them and try to warn him of the situation. In this case, both get shot and they come out to warn the wrong guy. Our shooter knows the day-to-day schedule of the therapy department and heads for the area where they congregate at this time of day. They did not hear the overhead page, but did hear the shots down the hall. Since there is no safe exit in the department, most barricaded themselves in the conference room, while two staff hide under desks and behind furniture in the main gym. Our shooter arrives and immediately sees the therapist hiding under the desk. Since the trick worked in administration, the shooter attempts again to try to get staff to open the door to the conference room they are blocking with their bodies. They are not easily tricked and stay quiet while backing the door with their bodies. As he leaves the area, he sees the other therapist and shoots him. When entering an active shooter scene, most law enforcement officers are taught to follow the gunfire. If there is none, they follow the carnage and hope to locate the assailant as quickly as possible. Survivors are normally instructed to vacate the building until further notice. Police do not usually stop to render aid to victims, but may stop long enough to obtain information as to what direction the shooter went. They know that EMS help is probably waiting outside for them to secure the building and to invite them in. When the shooter is located by police, their first reaction would be to stop him from further harm. Many shooters have committed suicide when the police confront them, others want to shoot it out, and some will surrender or flee the area in hopes to elude capture. In this event, the assailant decides to shoot it out and is killed on the scene. In a real situation, after the shooter has been disabled, law enforcement will continue to search the building to determine if anyone else is involved. Once the building is secure, police will call in the EMS to attend to the victims. In a hospital situation like this, they would allow professional staff to assist where they can. Administrators are summoned and advised what to expect in the aftermath. The building will remain a crime scene until further notice. In this event, care of the victims was turned over to the medical staff. First aid was rendered until it was deemed appropriate for medical transport to an emergency facility.
Building is secure, I need nurses, please. Building is secure, I need nurses.
Let's go. You've got this area, you've got a critical and a wounded. Where's Susan at? Get your code card, Josh.
Okay.
We have wounded in by the nurses station. We've got wounded by.
And do you have nurses over there? Do you have nurses?
We've got nurses over here.
In the therapy gym?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you hurt?
Right here. He shot me right here.
I'm going to put dressing on that.
Oh my God, I'm so scared.
Hold
bleeding
pressure.
so much. It's
Hold
bleeding
pressure
so
on it.
much.
Right here. Hold pressure on that. I'm going to go find it.
Help me, help me. Oh, we have a, okay.
Critical over there.
Dr. Ross?
We're giving last rites for this one.
All right, is this one dead?
Critical's over there.
Over here. Critical, we're holding pressure?
Yep.
Okay, he's able to talk?
He came back. We did 2 rounds of CPR and he came to.
Okay.
And then we put a tourniquet right up his head.
Very good. And do we have any other injuries?
Someone else put pressure on that. I'm going to go check on the other.
Any other injured here? No? Okay, how about anybody downstairs? Do we know if anybody was harmed downstairs?
Nope, we checked downstairs, it's good. Nobody's harmed.
So this is it?
This is it.
All right.
Okay. Good job, Kirby. Good job, Wanda. You live another day to watch the Cowboys lose again. All right, so EMS is taking them.
Once the drill was declared over, senior staff were summoned to the hospital's command center to discuss what took place. Non-employee evaluators and police were invited to attend and comment on their observations. Let's listen in on some of those discussions.
Well, at this point, the drill's over, so everybody knows, and I would like for our evaluators to take turns and to, we'll start with, introduce yourself as you give your, that's the best way to do it,
I'm
introduce.
Marcette, and I was in the office here, and she, of course, opened the door to let her coworker in when he shot her instead of, needing assistance. He was the one causing the problem. She didn't know what to do afterwards. Do I call 911? Do I call my husband? So that's something probably we should have in our minds before the situation comes, so that we can react faster.
Just so you understand, the response is going to be enormous. Cops are going to come from everywhere. That's historically, that's what happens. Today you just have 2 officers going through the building. It's very quiet. Plus you know it's coming. In real life, like you said, this thing's going to be very chaotic. It's going to be very confusing. There's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of screaming, a lot of stuff going on. And everybody reacts different, and there's no scenario that we can ever prepare you for it until it happens. Some people are going to completely shut down, and they're not going to be able to function. Others are going to move. They're going to self-evacuate. It's just when it happens, it happens. And we're trained to just deal with it. The officers are going to come in, and they're going to flow through the building, basically reacting to the screams and the gunshots that they hear. That's what they're trained to do.
When that's your fellow employee, there should probably when I take this back home is to think about telling the directors so that we know they've been fired. So I'm
Maybe you
thinking
can
in my
explain
building
that,
this
Deborah.
happens.
What is our policy towards notifying staff that someone's been terminated?
We would just say that they're no longer with us, so they would be aware that Pranesh is no longer with us.
Since Rodney knew the shooter, he probably could have done an overhead announcement. Pranesh, the pharmacist, is the active shooter, and then repeated that a few times so that we would think about that.
That's a good tip.
That's very good.
In real life, it would be chaotic like they went over, and I think when Lieutenant Gavitt and Sergeant Fisher teach your class, there's a block in there about what you should do in the aftermath if you're a survivor and nothing's happened and you're secured in your office. So just think about that training, because in real life, there are going to be a lot of police officers in here. We're going to be bringing in EMS people. We're going to be treating people. We're going to be trying to evacuate the building in some kind of an orderly fashion at that point, so that we can keep track of everybody, make sure that there's nobody else involved in the crime itself and all of those kind of things. So there's going to be a lot going on. There's going to be a lot of confusion. So you're best probably to stay put if you're secured, and if you're not secured, if you can evacuate, then that's the way to go. But thank you for letting us help you, and I appreciate y'all doing this, because it's always best to be prepared that you know something could happen. And of course, we couldn't simulate the real sounds and noises of what would be going on, but at least you know there's some kind of action going on. So thanks for doing it.
We're very appreciative. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
What we learned from this drill is that defending against the invasion of an active shooter is extremely difficult to prepare for. You won't see it coming, and there will be little time to react once the first shot rings out. You can only hope your staff knows ways to avoid the shooter. Our policy is to run, hide, or fight.
Turn left.
We give our staff the choice to pick one of those. Warn others, call 911, and leave the building if you can. Hide behind locked doors or barricade them if you can. Break windows and jump out if you have to, but get to a safe place and wait for the police to secure the situation. We hope you learned something from this film, and pray you never experience the tragedy such as an active shooter at your facility. From Baylor Scott White Institute for Rehabilitation in Lakeway, Texas, we wish you all a safe and happy workplace.